if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Often with the 80-20 rule, we find that 20% of your office is producing 80% of the results or doing most of the work, and you're lagging the rest.
I learned a long time ago, copy genius, don't invent mediocrity. Why are we out there stumbling over our own foolishness when there's other people who've already done that for us?
That's right.
They could do that.
This is Dental All Stars, where we bring you the best in dentistry on marketing, management, and training.
Welcome to Dental All Stars. I'm Alex Nottingham, founder and CEO of All Star Dental Academy, and with me is Eric Vickery, president of coaching at All Star Dental Academy, and we're talking about the Mastermind. Please welcome Eric.
Hey, Alex.
So we were preparing for this talk, and you gave me some different topics, and you're like, let's talk about Mastermind. I'm like,
Yeah.
I always love talking about Mastermind. It's something we talked about before last year, but it's good to repeat it. It changes freshly. And I think for today, we can just look broadly at what Mastermind is, what it isn't, where you can get that experience. So I have certainly my thoughts, but I thought it'd be fun to hear from the president of coaching, because you're speaking across the country on behalf of All Star. You still have a few clients you coach, although you're so busy, and you're seeing what kind of they're going through, and kind of hear it from a different lens. So tell me about, Eric, kind of what is Mastermind in your mind, and what is not Mastermind?
Yeah. So I think sometimes too, people hear that phrase and they giggle or they think it's weird or something, but the mastermind has been around forever. Two or more people coming together, making that third, more powerful mind combined. I'm just better when I'm with you. You're better when you're with me. We're increasing the likelihood that we'll find a solution when we're working together. Obviously, I think there's a law of diminishing returns. You can't have too many people, because then people get lost in it. People don't have a voice in it. But you want to be in, I think, a multiple of masterminds. There's so many different types, whether it could be, in our case, clinical or non-clinical, it could be, leadership based, whatever it might be. And, for me, it's about finding a safe place that I can be truly vulnerable in the areas that I'm struggling with, so that I could achieve potential growth. The opportunities are created the more transparent I can get, but I need to be in a safe place to do that. So a mastermind has to be a place of comfort, has to be a place of security, and it can't all be people at the same levels either. That also creates a challenge. There's going to be some people in some areas that are way higher than me, and in some areas I'm way higher than them, and my experience is there and then what I bring to the table. But it really has to be a place where all of us can learn and all of us can give. Can't just be take or just give. And so for me, the mastermind is just a powerful place of free expression to learn and grow and challenge myself.
So you were referring to the definition that Napoleon Hill wrote in his book, Think and Grow Rich, about that third invisible mind that's created in a group. And so we can talk at the end about an actual mastermind group, but we can even backtrace this a bit into what's happening. So you have this mastermind effect that occurs. Now, it's obviously, what is it? You have an effect that's greater than the sum of the parts, right? So if you have a team, you would think the team together would be greater than the sum of their parts. If it's just the sum of their parts, it's just, you're just getting transactional. I have this, it does that. But is there a synergy? And sometimes you may have a group that the sum of their parts is worse, right? The effect is worse than the sum of the parts. So you can go backwards. So we're talking about, and in most cases, it is going backwards, right? The sum is less. Is often with the 80-20 rule, we find that 20% of your office is producing 80% of the results or doing most of the work, and you're lagging the rest. So most cases is actually the reverse of the mastermind is happening, or you have some sort of just stability. So mastermind is, I know you love 10Xing and growing and these models of how do I challenge myself, you talk a lot about, right? So the mastermind effect can happen in different situations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. And I don't think you ever really see it coming. I think sometimes people are thinking, oh, well, what am I going to get out of this? Or what's this going to be? And you really have to open your mind to the possibility of what can be created. Cause I think the best ideas, I just was talking with a doctor right before this, and I don't remember his direct quote, but I love our meetings. The information you share is great. And I'm always surprised at where we go with our meetings. It's not always as we anticipate. And this is a coaching session, and yet a team member saying, yeah, I don't know, and there's the closed-mindedness that can be in the way of the group really thriving. And that's where you get, when you talk about negative results, that's where I think the phrase addition through subtraction comes into play. Because sometimes you just got wrong people in the group. And by removing them, all of a sudden the group is free now. There's more transparency, there's more joy in it. And you're actually learning and growing now, and not just, ooh, I hope this person is okay in this group, and they're a huge distraction within the mastermind.
So let's talk about kind of what it's not, right? So we saw, and we just came up with this today. There's 3 tiers, right? One where you're getting worse results with people than the sum. Next, you're getting the same results. We're getting just results that you put in. And then how do we get that transformational result? And so what it's not typically, let's just talk with doctors for a second. That's typically our audience that are listening. So with doctors and even team members at events, but doctors, when they go to study clubs, typically they think, okay, was that a mastermind? Well, we're sharing ideas, but often there's a guardedness where I don't want to tell you what's really going on, or I'm going to boast how good I am when, like social media. So there's not really a transparency there. There's a competition or guardedness. That's not really a mastermind. Where there's a bunch of people who just talk all the time, or you have a group leader or a guru, whether it's you or me, we're talking all the time. It's not, that might be your coaching, that might be a lecture. That's not mastermind.
Yeah.
And
like
a mastermind has to be some sort of organic, like you said, I didn't even expect this to occur. In that something else that can be very powerful. I call it organized chaos, right? But if there's a way to create an environment on which it can occur. So I think it's important to point out what it's not, because people may call it mastermind, but it's not. If you just have the guru telling you what's great, you're just hearing that person talk.
I think about a book that you're reading on this stuff. That's great for you, but you're not expressing your challenges in that area and finding from people who are in your peer group to help you with solutions.
That's right.
Or a podcast. Listen to our podcast about this. This is not a mastermind. This is learning. This is a part of training and opening your mind to ideas, but it's not really a mastermind. There's not another person taking you might even go, well, I never thought about a mastermind. I should be part of that. But there could be another potential thought from that third mind that you're not getting access to because you're not bouncing that conversation off someone.
And there's got to be you've got to be plugged in. So this is content that you're listening to, but there's got to be an interaction, like what you said earlier, a safe place of vulnerability where you can be all that you want to be. You can share and divulge, and you're like, oh, I had that same problem too. So another thing that comes up, is this like a forum online, right? Is this where or social media? No, because again, is it a safe place? Probably not. And it's, are we getting the entire truth? But like you said before, when you and I connect and we start talking and brainstorming, we create something greater than we could have done on our own. And All-Star is an example of that, of the people. We even say, you, our COO, myself, I mean, we have a ton of people that they could have their own All-Stars, but they don't, because we see that when we come together, it's something that we could never achieve on our own. And it takes humility as well to be able to realize that.
That's good.
And that's a big one. To be in any mastermind experience or group, you have to come in with humility.
So if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I'd also say this, if you believe that you're the smartest person in the room, I would also say, well, why do you think that? So you have nothing to learn from anybody in this room? That gets out of the humbleness section. That gets into maybe ego. That gets into defensiveness, lack of vulnerability, transparency, where you're not feeling like, you feel like you're too good for this group. There's a problem there.
Sure.
Potentially.
And it's really remarkable, because I think again, this is all mindset, where you're coming from. And once you start saying, I know, right? There's a lot of stuff that you block. And it's remarkable because we're thinking about our mastermind group and just seeing what is the commonality with these doctors. They're very successful, but they don't, throw that around. It's like, how can we saw the other day, there was a post on our messaging with the group, and everybody supporting each other, and it's not too basic for them to look at that. Right. And they, and so it's interesting because you can have, what was it I saw the other day about, like, we talk about quiet wealth. All right. Where you may see people driving the Ferrari or whatever, you think, oh, they're wealthy, right? Or they haven't made. But if you can almost see their bank account on top of their head, you would see they're worth $100,000 or $10,000. And you see the other doctor driving a, Civic or 10-year-old, 20-year-old Lexus.
Yeah.
And they're worth $3 million. You don't know because they don't have to throw around their wealth and whatever it is. It's a quiet wealth. And I find that the successful dentists that are good for the mastermind effect, whether it's our group or another group, that they get the most is when they come in just with an empty slate and they're go-givers, not go-getters.
Yeah, that's good.
How can I share? How can I give? It's remarkable. Yeah. And, for the first couple of years, I was like, this must be a mistake. But we've been doing this for a long time, Eric. And year after year, it's the same model. So many of you know I work for Tony Robbins, and he's all about model the best. And when you see this is the character set that leads to happiness in multiple modalities, whether it's wealth or just happiness, there's a humility there for sure.
I think when you start talking, I'm getting more ideas when you start talking. Is a perfect example of mastermind. I learned a long time ago, copy genius, don't invent mediocrity. Why are we out there stumbling over our own foolishness when there's other people who've already done that for us?
That's right.
They can do that. The second thing I thought of when we were talking is people want to be a part of something that's greater than themselves.
Sure.
I want to be a part of a group. I think you call it the fraternity a bit. There's that term gets thrown around a bit, but I want to be a part of a group that's after something greater than just what we're doing here too. So what are we doing for the next generation of dentistry? Whoever's buying my practice next, what are we doing for that group? That's what we have to be in consideration of.
Sure. Did you mute yourself? Might have done it accidentally.
The dog's
Oh, you're doing it on purpose. I'm like, where do you go? We're going to leave that in. You can see what's going on. So the dog is in the background. Hide it.
Make sure. The dog wants to be a part of the mastermind group, I think is what it is.
Yeah, we have to question that. Well, we know the dog has humility. Whether it has the intelligence, we'll see. Maybe we'll be humble to the dog. They have a lot of love. Smart. Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry, Wendy. Wendy?
Winnie.
Okay. Winnie. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think as well for team, so let's talk about kind of ways that we can experience this mastermind effect, right? Because we're talking about talk about what it isn't. And so you have doctors and team, right? So let's just start with team and then I'll kind of end with doctors. But like team, we do a lot of events, right? And I know that in your events and our events, well, I say you because you're the master of ceremonies, our main speaker, we have moments of interaction that are facilitated by our team, but we also have a time in between. And that's where the team gets a chance to meet other people and talk. And one of the things that we do at our events, the way we set it up, is that most of the time they're members or they're familiar with our philosophy. So we have a common cause, much like a church. You go to your church and you have a common cause, a goal, right? For All-Star, it's service and integrity. And so everybody is there. And most people there are working with a coach. Mostly it's an All-Star coach or it could be a different coach. And so they all come from that place and they're primed for the mastermind to start to happen for them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
When you just go to an event and you have no training, no affiliation, no nothing, or you're not open to it, there's the mastermind is not going to happen. You can't force mastermind, right? You can create the environment and put the right people for which it will happen. Now, for team and doctors listening, we all want to have something where we're getting a bigger return. I love going to the numbers, right? Like what is it for me, for my team? Well, when your team is operating greater than the sum versus less than the sum, you're getting a better return on investment, a return on happiness and enjoyment. Okay. And so that's why we want to, in your words, pour into the team, pour into the practice, where we get to them to the point where mastermind is actually happening. And I'll say one other thing. We do have a team leader mastermind. That's for team leaders. So those are the ones that are in the next level. They want to contribute. It doesn't have to be a manager. It could be a front office. It could be a hygienist that leads the team to some, by example, whatever. But there's actually a formal mastermind that we created to be able to satisfy that itch, if you will. So there's ways to kind of level up. I think you mentioned that before, right? In that process.
Yeah, I guess I would ask the question too, why wouldn't you want to be a part of Mastermind? You made me think of something when you're talking about, my doctor made me go to this seminar. My doctor made me. Well, think about that. Why wouldn't you want the opportunity to learn something new, to improve yourself? That is how you grow yourself, which is how you grow the business, which is how you grow your pay. You don't just grow your pay because you worked there 10 years, you got another year in.
Well, we
not
can,
it.
I see a way if we can unpack this in two ways. Let's start with the team, and then we have to go back to the doctor. We're always going to be up on the doctor. So we start with the team being, let's assume, because we're going to start breaking up this assumption, but let's assume doctor wants the team to go to an event or to participate in a mastermind group or whatever, or continue with learning. What, even All-Stars or coaching or All-Stars online training or whatever. And they lack that, like you said, we're thinking, and doctors are like, oh, well, that's pretty obvious, right? Do you want to better yourself? But they don't. We have doctors that said, I will send my entire team, all expenses paid, to an event. They don't want to go. We hear that sometimes. And we're like, ooh, that's what's going on there?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because I still don't know the answer to this. So Eric, president of coaching, what is going on with that? Why is that happening?
Yeah, they're just a frame of mind that hasn't been challenged or seen the light yet.
Okay.
People have to want to learn. They have to want to grow. And if it's just a job for you and you're just punching in and punching out, and it's not a place for you to personally grow and see that, hey, if I grow here, I actually grow at home with my family. The things that we're learning and teaching and sharing are not just in the workplace. They're in your life. And these are human beings that are working on becoming better human beings. So I personally don't understand why you wouldn't want to go. I love to go to learn something. I love to listen to a podcast. I love to join mastermind groups. And if you're not in a mastermind group, I think you got to ask yourself, why not? What is it about me that's wired a certain way that says I don't want to be a part of that? Is it the vulnerability? Is it you think you know everything? I haven't quite figured that out. Maybe we can have somebody message us and give us a good reason.
Time. It's always time and money and relevance. And we will get to that. But let's unpack. Let's go back to the team, because let's step back now. So we're picking on a team and we're like, why is it happening? Well, let's go back to the doctor. It's the doctor's fault.
Okay.
It's the owner's fault.
Leadership.
Okay. We can end the podcast now. There we go. No, but the reason I pick on that is that it's got to be a priority number one for the doctor. Does the doctor prioritize CE and personal development and training, customer service training? Okay, let's say they do. But has that translated to the team? We know that doctors will easily spend on themselves for CE, for definitely clinical CE. Sometimes it will be practice management, okay? But it's a smaller percent, okay? Now it goes, am I going to invest in my team? Well, the first hurdle, right? So hurdle one, personal development, practice management, phone skills, scheduling, cases, all that's important, right? I know that's what drives the business. We have to say, aha, I see that. Now, will I make an investment in myself for that? Okay, let's see that. Will I make an investment in my team for that? So let's say they say yes, which is still a hurdle, because some are like, well, I mean, it's money. I mean, it costs money. I got to send people. It costs money. I mean, this isn't a few $100s. This is thousands of dollars. This is coaching. This is travel. This all stuff. But if you're a $1 million practice and you can improve by 5%, 10%, 10% improvement over a year. It's $100,000. Coaching, mastermind, events is going to be a fraction of that. Okay. So let's say we get past that hurdle. We're not going to spend the entire time on that. Now we go to the team, and here's the problem. The question is, will the doctor make it a priority that we're going to do this as a practice? This is part of our culture. Because typically what will happen is, assuming they're willing to make that investment, it's what your trainee, our COO, I just did a podcast with her, talked about approval addiction, something you teach, right? They don't want to look bad. They want the team's approval. They don't want chaos, right? So you see, I'm just acknowledging there's a difficulty here to it takes another step where, what am I willing to do to have that? Because you said, and I think every doctor listening is going to say, yeah, I want a team member that doesn't come to my office looking that's just a job. I don't want them. Yeah. Remember Mike? I say his name, but he's famous with the Florida Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry and also the AGD and so on. Or maybe it was FAG, but FAGD and the AGD. But he said to us, I will not hire somebody if they look at this as a job. I won't.
Yeah.
So
I think your core values, your culture commandments, your whatever's driving you has to be visible and put up. And it's this, are you in with this or are you not in with this? And I think there's a lot of frustration in that. We're going to do a podcast with our partners at Ben Erickson soon, Alan Twigg. I'm going to record one with him on, hey, there's shortage of people and how do you get what you want out of people and deliver exactly kind of what we're talking about here, the extension of this. And I'm afraid of losing team members if I push too hard or whatever it might be. And I would just challenge this and say, agree with you that you're investing in people. It's just like investing in your business. You'd go buy equipment, you'd invest in this. And if you're a team member listening to this, which I hope you are, I want you to really think about, what are you doing yourself to grow? And are you just hearing information or are you giving some information? Right. You really learn so much when you're teaching others some things too. That's the powerful part here. You got to have flow of conversation. So the willingness to invest, I think understanding that the AACD, in our presentation, we talked about this, 15% of your success is in your technical expertise. That's important, but 85% is your people skills. So how much time and energy are you investing in your people skills, your practice management, your team building, your leadership, your culture, your case acceptance, all these things we talk about, but find a way in one of those places to get into a mastermind where you're challenging yourself and you're challenging others. That's a part of this.
Let me give kind of a roadmap, if you will, from here to here. Yeah. Because I was getting on where we eventually have to go with the team, which is, this is what we stand for, and I'm willing to train my team, encourage my team, stand for something, and if they are, and I'll take whatever team I have that will go to an event, and if the team member still is reluctant to participate, maybe it's time I change them. That's why we have a hiring service, is very popular here at All Star. We got a lot of different things that go on, but I think we're like looking to from here. Okay, from the beginning to here, which is Mastermind is the pinnacle. Yeah. So we were talking in the green room about, well, they're going to be reaching out. I want to do Mastermind. I'm like, but especially All Star, you can't do Mastermind unless you're coaching with us or whatever. You could do it all once, but you have to be interviewed and you have to do the right person. So it's not like, hey, let's just do it. Others are more, the reason we do that is we have to make sure there's a humility and it's the right fit, because it's a very, safe group.
So everyone's got to have the right fit. Yeah.
Right. So we have a team leader one, which is a little easier to get a hold of for the team leads. And we have one for the doctors as well. So I would encourage those that are listening, go to allstardentalacademy.com and you look at a few things here in terms of the journey. And many of you are already members. It's fine. But first of all, there's a lot of free content. We have the podcast and there's no rush, no hard sales, nothing. It's creating the roadmap. In the beginning of the roadmap is this listening, right? Podcast. Then it's I do a webinar that talks about phone skills and case acceptance and broken appointments. That's the starting point. Then we have our online training, right? Process, which is little by little with your team. And then you build up to coaching, to events, right? And then the pinnacle is the mastermind. Now,
Mhm.
when that, so we're talking about roadmap of where we have to be from just an idea to total immersion. For Mastermind to work, you have to be totally immersed in the philosophy, in the training, and what you're doing. It is, so it's look, if we're gonna get a group together and half of the people are unprepared, have no idea what you're talking about, right? Have different values, they're just gonna complain, right? And we're not gonna get a lot done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I, you started, and we're gonna about to conclude our podcast here because I know you have to run to a coaching call, but we started with it. This is a very powerful topic, Eric, that you wanted to start with, the
Yeah.
mastermind. But I will leave with one other thing too, and I'll give you the last word, which is we're talking about a mastermind group in terms of building up and getting your team immersed and so on. So
Yeah.
that we have the sum of the parts is greater, right? Your result is greater than the sum of the parts. But
Yeah.
look to the mastermind effect happening in your life where you have a bunch of people, whatever that is, that they're all in on whatever the philosophy is. Okay. And see the magic that happens. That can happen in clinical, that can happen in practice management and life skills is
Yep.
what we do, right? That can happen in religious studies, whatever that might be. So that's how I would view the mastermind. Eric?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. The biggest thing I want people to leave with is, am I in one master? Am I in none? That's would be a challenge. Am I just in one mastermind group, whatever fashion that is? Group coaching, online training, mastermind group, seminars, whatever that is. Who am I getting CEO therapy with? Who's my high level thinking partnership group? You are the culmination of the 5 closest people to you in your life. So who are those people? Who are you diving in with? Because that's what this is all about. If we're going to figure out how to do this life thing better, I want to be around people who are figuring out how to do this life thing better with me.
Well, thank you for helping facilitate this wonderful discussion on how to find the mastermind in your life and in your business. So
Love it.
thank you, Eric Vickery, President of Coaching at All Star Dental Academy. And thank everyone for joining us. Remember to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Get the episodes as they are released. Share with your friends. And until next time, go out there and be an all-star.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Dental All Stars. Visit us online at allstardentalacademy.com.